If you tend to think deeply about everything, this video might feel uncomfortably accurate. Overthinkers are often intelligent, self-aware, reflective, but they're rarely peaceful. And there's a psychological reason for that. Because the same mental ability that allows you to analyze deeply also makes it harder for you to feel present. Let's break this down carefully. Overthinking isn't just thinking too much. It's a pattern of cognitive looping. Your brain takes an experience, a conversation, a mistake, a possibility, and instead of processing it once, it replays it. From different angles, with different outcomes, with different imagined consequences. And here's the part most people don't realize. Overthinking is not about the event. It's about control. When you analyze something repeatedly, your brain is trying to reduce uncertainty. It believes that if it examines every angle, it can prevent future pain. So overthinking becomes a protective strategy. But protection comes at a cost. Because the brain has limited cognitive energy, when most of your mental bandwidth is spent replaying the past or rehearsing the future, there's very little left for the present moment. And happiness lives in the present, not in analysis, not in projection, not in what-if scenarios. Present awareness. Now, here's where it gets deeper. Overthinkers often have heightened self-awareness. You notice tone shifts, facial expressions, subtle behavioral changes. You pick up on things others miss. That sensitivity is a strength, but without emotional regulation, it becomes exhausting. Because when you notice everything, you evaluate everything. And when you evaluate everything, you rarely relax. Your mind becomes a constant assessment machine. Did I say the wrong thing? Did they mean something by that? What if this goes wrong? What if I misunderstood? It's not drama, it's vigilance. And vigilance is what the brain uses when it feels unsafe. Now, this doesn't mean you had a traumatic upbringing. It simply means your brain learned that thinking ahead feels safer than reacting later. So it adopted anticipation as a survival skill. But here's the paradox. The more you try to mentally control outcomes, the less emotionally stable you feel. Because life doesn't cooperate with analysis. You can't think your way into certainty. And when certainty never arrives, your brain keeps looping. This is why many overthinkers struggle with happiness. Not because they're negative, but because their mind rarely rests. There's always something to evaluate, always something unfinished, always something unresolved. And unresolved thoughts create tension. Tension prevents calm. Calm is necessary for contentment. Now, let's talk about something important. Overthinking is often confused with intelligence. And while they can overlap, they are not the same. Intelligence solves problems. Overthinking creates imaginary ones. Intelligence moves toward action. Overthinking stalls in preparation. Intelligence clarifies. Overthinking complicates. The reason this matters is because many overthinkers are proud of their analytical ability. It's part of their identity. I'm just someone who thinks deeply. And that may be true. But when deep thinking becomes chronic rumination, it stops being depth and starts being self-interference. The brain wasn't designed to simulate endless futures. It was designed to respond to immediate reality. And when you constantly simulate negative possibilities, your nervous system reacts as if they're real. Elevated stress hormones, muscle tension, mental fatigue. Over time, this creates emotional burnout. That mentally exhausted feeling, it's cognitive overload. Now, here's the shift. The goal is not to stop thinking deeply. That's part of your strength. The goal is to change your relationship with thought. Instead of believing every thought deserves analysis, you begin asking, is this useful right now? If it's not actionable, it doesn't need rehearsal. Another powerful shift. Distinguish between preparation and rumination. Preparation moves toward action. Rumination circles without progress. One builds confidence, the other drains it. You can also train your brain to tolerate uncertainty. Overthinking thrives on the illusion that certainty is required for peace. It's not. Peace comes from accepting incomplete information, from allowing things to unfold without pre-solving every scenario. This feels uncomfortable at first, because you're removing the brain's safety net. But slowly, your nervous system learns. Nothing bad happened. You survived uncertainty. And with repetition, the compulsion to mentally rehearse weakens. There's something else overthinkers need to hear. You're not broken. Your brain is just overprotective. It learned that thinking ahead equals safety, but growth requires emotional risk. And emotional risk always involves unknowns. The reason some people appear happier is not because they're smarter. It's because they spend less time in mental simulation and more time in lived experience. They feel more. You analyze more. But analysis without pause removes you from the moment you're trying to enjoy. If you're constantly evaluating how something feels, you're not fully feeling it. You're observing yourself feel it. And that separation limits joy. So here's the practical challenge. Catch the loop. Not to fight it, but to notice it. The moment you realize you're replaying something for the 5th time, pause. Breathe. Shift your attention to physical sensation, sound, breath, movement. Bring your brain back to what's real, not what's possible. Overthinking loses power when awareness interrupts it. And ironically, the same awareness that fuels your overthinking is the tool that frees you from it. Because awareness can either spiral or stabilize. It depends on how you use it. Overthinkers often believe that peace will come once everything makes sense. But life rarely makes complete sense. And happiness isn't found in perfect understanding. It's found in participation, in engagement, in moments you don't dissect. So if you've been feeling mentally tired, if you've been analyzing your own reactions, if you've been wishing your brain would just slow down, it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means your mind learned to prioritize safety over ease. And you can retrain that. Not by silencing thought, but by deciding which thoughts deserve attention. Depth is a gift, but peace requires boundaries, even with your own mind. And once you learn to think deeply without thinking endlessly, happiness stops feeling out of reach. It starts feeling accessible. If you tend to think deeply and feel intensely, this channel is for you. Subscribe, because understanding your mind shouldn't feel overwhelming. It should feel empowering.